as I walked through the wilderness of this world, I came to a certain place, and as I laid down, I slept. And as I slept, I dreamed a dream. I dreamt that I saw a man standing on the edge of a cliff. He was wearing just old, dirty rags. He was hugging, clinging onto this book that he'd been reading. As he opened it and started to read, he would cry. And it seemed like the rucksack he was carrying on his back would get heavier and heavier. The more he read, the heavier it would get, until he felt like he couldn't carry on walking. His legs were aching, his shoulders were aching, he was tired. Whenever you listened to him, he would just cry out, "What shall I do? What shall I do?" And anywhere he would go, he would just be carrying this heavy weight around with him all day, every day. Whenever he went home, he couldn't eat, wasn't hungry, and he had to tell his family, "In this book I've been reading, it says we live in the city of destruction. It says our city is going to come to an end. It's going to be destroyed. What shall we do?" Well, his daughter thought he was just wrong. "Dad, our city's not going to be burned. How could that happen? It's so big. So many big buildings, loads of money. That's never going to happen." His son just thought he was messing about. Maybe gone crazy. "Oh, Dad's just being crazy. Listen to these crazy ideas." His wife noticed he looked tired, and this huge rucksack he was carrying was weighing him down. So she said, "Go to bed. Go to bed. Perhaps it'll all be better after a good sleep." But when he went to bed, he found he couldn't sleep. Everything he'd ever done was on his mind. All the wrong things he'd said, all the wrong things he'd done, all the wrong things he'd felt, all of his sins was weighing down on him. He couldn't take the rucksack off. Even in his bed, he couldn't get any peace or sleep. He'd open the book to read, but the more he read, the more heavier this rucksack got. Every day, he'd spend all day thinking about the fact that he lived in the city of destruction, that everything was coming to an end, and that he felt so weighed down by all the wrong he'd done. The only thing he could think of was that he had to find a way out. "I must find a way to leave this city. There must be a way, but I don't know how. What should I do? What should I do?" Will Christian find a way out of his trouble? Is there a way for this weight to be lifted? Could he ever be free? Could he ever know what real life is? Tune in next time to find out. Well, we're going to look back over the chunk we've read just to look at how that helps us. Well, with the coronavirus at the moment, everyone is trying to avoid catching it. I don't want to be ill. I don't want to get it. I don't want to catch it. It's really made people think about how short life is, how weak we are, that something we can't even see can make us feel so ill. And people are worried because there's no way out, no medicine to take that can make it better. As we read about Christian and what he was worried about, Jesus is telling us in the Bible, that's the book that Christian was reading. In the Bible, there's a disease that all of us have. All of us have caught it. We're all born with it. And it's already at work in our hearts. And we can't cure it by ourselves. This disease is sin. And sin makes us think we're okay, but actually fills us with all sorts of selfishness and wickedness, where we hate other people, where we don't love God. And Christian read about this in the Bible. He read verses like, all our righteousness are filthy rags, when we compare them with Jesus. When he started to realize that sin was at work in his heart, he realized it was more dangerous than any virus, than anything else. This is what would bring his death and destruction. And this rucksack here became heavy as he realized how his heart was full of greed and jealousy. It weighed him down. It really got to him. It bothered him so much that the God who made him and loved him, he hadn't loved. He just turned away from and carried on living his life. He really woke up to the fact that sin was his biggest enemy. But he didn't know what to do. He asked other people, and they just thought he was crazy or wrong or tired. When you start to follow Jesus, the world, maybe friends, maybe other people, will try and say all sorts of things. They'll just try and tell you you're wrong. When you say, I really feel my sin, my guilt, you're just wrong. Why feel like that? Don't feel like that. Maybe they think you're crazy. Don't be crazy. Everyone's good deep down. Everyone's fine. Everyone's nice. Maybe they'll just say, oh, look, you're obviously too tired. Maybe just sleep and forget about it. But when Jesus starts to work in your heart, there's nothing you can do to shake it. Nothing you can do to take away your sin. And the more Christian read in this book, the more distressed he became, the more he got weighed down, and he realized, I have to leave. I have to find a way out. At the moment, there's no cure to this virus that we're all thinking about so much. But there is a cure to sin. Jesus has come, and he has paid for all our sin on the cross. He has died, carrying our sin in his body, spilling all of his blood, giving his life for you, full of amazing love. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, not be involved in destruction, but have everlasting life. There is a way for the sin in your heart to be dealt with, taken away, and for you to be washed clean. It's through believing in Jesus. There is a way out. Will you trust him? Here's a list of things that you can do. So we need to turn back to the Bible after looking at this book and see what Jesus has to say to us. So just go over the story again with these first three questions. Then read what God says about you in Isaiah and Romans. And then read how God has provided a way out through Jesus with the second lot of readings. Then you can start your map by drawing the city of destruction. That's where it all begins, when you realize your sin in front of God. And then if you want some extra things to do, you could draw each place and what life was like in that place, each place that Christian visits in more detail. And then you could think, what cities in the Bible are like this city of destruction? That is where we live until we trust in Jesus. See you all soon. Bye-bye.